My name's Erondu. I am a digital product designer in San Francisco, California. Being a freelancer means having the dual opportunity to help others and to help yourself. Whatever your craft is, whether it's design or engineering, you get to give that to other people in return for something, money, equity, whatever. But you also teach yourself a lot because there's a lot of skills required to be a freelancer. And if you're able to help yourself and help others at the same time and get paid for it, that's a great combination. So freelancing is interesting because it requires a lot of skills. You are essentially a one-person business. So, marketing is involved. You have to have avenues of like inbound, right? Or like outbound, like being able to find your clients or setting up ways for them to find you, whether that's social media, word of mouth, references on LinkedIn or portfolios or whatever it is. Outside of that, there's a lot of operations. So you have to understand how you make money, right? You have to be really good at taxes. If you're not really good, and I always recommend people to find someone, which is actually interesting because it also requires some level of delegation skill, right? Like even though you are one man or one woman person, like business, you can still outsource things, right? So you can still contract a finance person to just handle your books, right? You can, if you need to, contract marketing to help you get your things out there, or at least give you some guiding principles. And then of course there's the work. More required is the people skills, right? Being able to talk to your customers or talk to your clients, understand their needs, learn how to tell them that their idea is actually not a good one without making them feel like they're an idiot, but more like you're empowering them, like this is what you brought me here for, right? I like where you were going, but it's just the wrong path. It encompasses all those things. And I feel like the more someone does that, if they stay in freelance, awesome. If they move into any other kind of thing, whether it's like a startup or a full-time gig, there's a lot of lessons that they take with them to that kind of role. At the beginning of my design career, freelancing was all I could do because I didn't have the skills necessary to go full-time. I was brand new to the thing. I felt that there was something I could prove. I felt that there was value I could provide that just wasn't at the level that a company would want to employ me full-time. So that's how I got in. When I felt like I got to the level that I wanted to be at, I applied, got a full-time job as a designer. After that job, I went back into freelancing, and it wasn't, it had nothing to do with the full-time job. It was just a period of time. I was I want a little bit more of my time back. I want to explore different things, right? And I realized quickly that freelancing allows you to get breadth, and then full-time allows you to get depth. I liked being able to explore a lot of these things because when I actually went full-time, I had a lot of surface area. It's I've seen this before. I was the only person on the team. It's why do you know anything about e-commerce if this is like a coaching company, right? Or why do you know anything about cars if this is a health company, right? So that was one of the benefits. Now I'm freelancing because I feel like I built up a set of skills that I want to share with as many people as possible. And that doesn't mean having 10 or 20 gigs. It just means having more than one. The first 3 or 4 contracts I got in the city, one of it required me to do a lot of work ahead of time. So I knew I wanted to help this company. I knew they were looking for design talent, but I assumed, and I was right, that they were probably looking at other people who were potentially more qualified than me or had better network to that person. So I thought to myself, well, what are the things that those people are probably not doing? And what they're probably not doing is researching the company that they're about to take a contract for, right? And why would you? If you are in the position that you hope to be in, if you're in the position of people always ask you for work, then you're not really what product do I want to improve? Do deep research. You just say yes or no, right? So I looked up this company. I looked up all their competitors. I researched the hell out of this company. I researched the hell out of their competitors. And I sent them an email and I'm hey, if I were working on your product, these are 3 things I'd change right now. And just general ideas, right? And if they were compelling enough to the person, they would respond. And sometimes they responded because they were whoa, I did not think about that. Can you come work on this right now? Or they were thinking about that already, but they were surprised that someone who did not have as much institutional knowledge as them could also perceive that, right? So at that point, you've already proved half of your value. It's like the person obviously has critical thinking and they can figure out what needs to be focused on. The other half is, are they a good designer, right? And then it's a much easier conversation. And if you were now competing against people who already had a name brand, you are already higher up on the list, because what they've already proven is like, he knows what to work on, right? Now it's just like, does it look good? And that's a much easier conversation. The way I charge is there's a system to it, but it's more flexible than others might think. So when I started freelancing, it was just strict. Like, I charged hourly, and I had an hourly rate. And basically how I came up with it was, if I were full-timing at a company that did not offer equity, how much do I think I am worth at a certain stage of a business? And then I divided that by obviously 12 months, and then 160 hours if you work full-time. And then I discounted that by like 20%, 25%, because that's assuming you work every single day. And part of the goal with freelancing is like, you can manage your time a bit more, and like, you don't have to like take time off from a job. You just decide not to work for a period of time. So being true to that, that's how I calculated, and I would just work on an hourly. But what I quickly found is that when you're working on an hourly basis, and as your skill improves over time, you start making the same decisions a lot faster. And like an example would be, build me an onboard flow that performs better than my existing, right? In the beginning, the process is the same. There's researchers understanding the problem, identifying the solution, etc. But in the beginning, you probably spent a lot of time thinking about that onboard flow. And fast forward 12 to 18 months, you're like, I've seen this like 10 times. I can do this in like 1/10 the time, right? If you're charging hourly, you're making 1/10 the money for providing the exact same value to the company, right? So I quickly realized that like, I was actually losing money by charging hourly. So I actually learned from you years ago that weekly is where it's at, right? And the benefit of weekly, you're not cheating the client, right? Because you were still thinking about it. The difference of like year 1 and year 10 is the amount of like thought processing at the desk goes down, because when you're just walking around, your body and your brain is actually processing the solution, right? So, year 1, you can't do that. Like, you're out, you're playing frisbee or like, with your dog or whatnot, and like, you're just thinking about throwing the frisbee. 10 years later, your subconscious is figuring out a problem, right? Why are you not making money for that same amount of cognitive load, right? So someone could like think about like psychology and pricing, but it's not really that. It's just like, you're still providing the exact same value to the business. So you should make that money, right? And when you do weekly, there's another benefit to it, aside from like making the money that you should make. It also reduces a lot of tension that you have with your client, right? If you're charging hourly and you say like you're gonna work out of the office for 8 hours, like your client is gonna be watching you the entire 8 hours. It's like, how long did he go to the bathroom? Was there like video playing? Like, is he on YouTube in there, right? Like, he went out for a lunch, but like everyone came back in 20 minutes and he came back in 25. To them, they're literally losing money every minute that you are not focusing, right? If it's weekly, it's more casual. It's like, all right, like he popped in for like 4 hours today, but he was 12 hours the next day, right? They're looking at it now as like, at the end of the week, did we get the value that we expected, right? And the goal is to obviously exceed that. Now, if someone's like, hey, I need help on this thing like 10 hours, then that's different, right? Because it's literally, they defined it as 10 hours of work, so I'm gonna give them 10 hours of work. I think someone can make a lot of money freelancing, but it depends on, there's a lot of factors involved. So location is one, if you're in San Francisco, there's a lot of money here. If you are in Wisconsin, there's a little less money there. Another is the kind of work you do, right? If we're talking freelancing in general, I could be a freelance plumber, and you can make money doing that, but it's not gonna be the same as if you're a freelance digital tech person, right? Whether that's design, engineering, product management, marketing, whatever it is. But talking, at least for myself, a freelancer in San Francisco, there's money there, right? Businesses are particularly beginning to understand the importance that design plays in a business's survival and ability to execute. And because of that, they're willing to dish up more money for it, right? And another factor that actually comes to mind thinking about business is the stage of the business, right? If we're talking particularly about startups in San Francisco or New York or like tech hubs, if you're doing a lot of contract work with, say, seed-funded companies or pre-seed, like, post-idea pre-seed, there's not a lot of money there, right? Because they're very tight on budget, and you have to, you think of it as like an opportunity cost, right? To them, like, they're dishing out this money, but if they die, like, didn't matter anyway, right? If you're post-seed and you have some money, obviously, like, there's money there, but you're not making what you'd make if you worked at a public company. If you're working mid to public company, then obviously, like, they have funds and they understand the value. So yeah, you can build up a war chest. I think contract, the term, helped when I was younger because it did sound more official. It sounded like this isn't this guy's first time. Like freelance, you never know like how someone's, like the next question someone always asks you is like, how long? And then the next question is like, what projects are you working on, right? And like you look at those three questions, it's like, how long? It's like, how long? Are you serious? Like how long have you really been doing this thing? And what projects? Not contracts, right? Projects. Project sounds like, what are you spending your time on? Like, what are you hacking away on right now, right? When I say I'm a contractor, people are like, well, what are your contracts? Like, what are these like business engagements you currently have, right? And it matters a lot less now. Like now I can use them interchangeably. I think contract is just like my habit now, in terms of like the word I use. But when I was younger, it definitely added some like weight, sadly. Not everyone will succeed at freelancing, and that's okay, because it's not the only form of work. You can do so many different kinds of things. You can try it out and you might love it. You can try it out and you might hate it, right? But you can try it out. I will also say though, that just because you fail at it at the beginning does not mean that you will ultimately just be bad at it. When I started freelancing, I was terrible at freelancing, right? I didn't know all the things that were involved. I thought I just text you and say like, yeah, I'm free, pay me, and then I do work, right? I didn't know there was like all this finesse of like, do you take X amount up front? Like, how do you charge them if they're late, right? All these things I learned over time. So by definition, when I started, I was bad. But I think that I had some of the skills naturally, or I had the aptitude or hunger to actually learn the things that I was bad at. And if you don't have that, then you can try it, but you're not really gonna be good at it.
Hey everybody, it's Dan here, and thank you so much for watching this episode of Freelance TV. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like below, join the conversation, leave a comment below, and of course, if you want to see more of these videos, subscribe. Now you can also go to freelance.tv for more information, to see full transcripts of these videos, or just to join our freelance community. If you have any questions at all, if you don't follow along my upcoming documentary I'm filming on freelance, on Twitter and Instagram, I'm @Dan Petty. That's all I've got for now. Thank you again for watching this episode. We'll see you next time.